So in March, we hosted the third Global Goals World Cup in Nairobi. 28 women's teams from 4 different kind of countries had qualified to the first African regional tournament of the Global Goals World Cup. So the team moving the goalpost, they won in Nairobi. This was 8 women who had done 24 actions for the Sustainable Development Goals before we even saw their talents of the football fields. And an action can be, you can clean the beach, or you can teach young girls about early pregnancy. So these girls, in winning in Nairobi, they got a chance to come to New York and play in the finals. This was just 3 weeks ago. And here were 8 women who have actually never been outside of Kenya, and none of them had passports. But by the time, in September, they have gone from 24 actions to plus 100 actions. And seeing them in the tournament, and then actually also being good at playing football, they won the finals in New York. It was amazing. Rikke and I were standing there at the finals looking at each other, and it was like crying and thinking, oh my God. I mean, this is what this is all for us was all about. And when they returned to their hometown, Kilifi, they were received by the mayor and the entire city, the village, and they had this victory walk through. The pictures were amazing. And for us, it was like, this is a new superstars, football stars in the making.
Exactly. So when we decided that we were going to create a women's Global Goals World Cup, we wanted to just rethink everything about what a World Cup should look like. Because in the good old days, sport was created by men, for men. And women had no part in that world. And even though we're here now, fact is, we had absolutely no influence on the design of what we know as sports today. And so, one of the main things that we decided we wanted to look at changing when we were going to create a new World Cup was purpose. Because in society, we celebrate sport for creating friendships and unity and health and empowerment. But if you think about it, that's not the purpose of sport, is it? The real purpose of sport is to find out who's the strongest. And, because if you look at the Olympic movement, it's like faster, higher, stronger. That's the motto. And these other qualities of unity and friendship, those are the fortunate outcomes of the process of finding out who's the strongest. Sometimes. And sometimes they're not. Sometimes sport also creates sport invalids, anorexics, drug abusers, violence, match fixing. Is that a problem? To us, it's a problem because this is where the development aspects come in. In 2015, 193 countries met at the UN and decided to sign the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. These goals are the biggest barriers and challenges to progress and development for humanity today. They are the must-win battles of our generation. And sport was named as an important enabler of sustainable development. But if sport is going to live up to this potential of being an important mobilizer and enabler for sustainable development, if sport is going to stay relevant in our society and be part of the solution and not part of the problem, all these good things that we associate with sport, they cannot be a coincidental byproduct of what we do. So we decided to create a World Cup where doing good is actually part of the sport, where the enablers and the mobilizers are as valued players on a team as the really strong football players.
So we chose the Sustainable Development Goals as the driver or the ones that was actually going to be the part that people are going to take action for. So when a team signs up, they can pick one of those goals, like no poverty, and they can take actions from when they sign up and leading up to the tournament, and hopefully also afterwards. We also wanted to play with the idea of in a sports arena, what does it look like? I mean, for most of us, when you kind of look at the stadiums today, they have a little bit of a resembling for a gladiator arena. So for us, this is from the tournament in New York that we had a few weeks ago, where we had to go inside. We were going to be in a park, but there was rain. And this is a space that is normally used for fashion shows and book fairs. you can see through it, you can see what goes on inside, and we could move all our fields, and we could have a communal dinner that we always have with all the teams afterwards in the crew, just having conversations. So we also all love the art world. I think art in many ways, for me growing up as a player, and they connect together. I mean, it's playful, we practice, there's always a show, there's always a game. So Ihan is here sitting playing drums. She always opens our games with an anthem that she's written for us. We have Game of Thrones actor Nikolai Costa-Waldau, who's also a UNDP ambassador, and Victor Shen from Uganda, who is a peace nominee, and Nikolai here also from Ghanaian fashion brand. They come along and they ref the games, giving us that shine. We have Olafur Eliasson, who have made these amazing little solar lamps that we use as medals for a winning team. Whenever he has a chance, he comes around. And then we had Annie Lennox, who nominated a Dream Team player for an SDG Dream Team that we put together from young feminists from all over the world that came together in New York to play on what's called the SDG 5 Dream Team. So in a sense, all of these put together, this and the art world, gave us the idea of creating a new point system. So when you actually play in our tournament, you get 4 points after each game. You get 1 point for how much you've activated for the goal that you picked to play for. You get 1 point for creative style. You get 1 point for engaging the crowd, speaking up, and you get 1 point for actually winning the football.
So we had our concept, we had our new point system. Now all we had to do was figure out how to finance our new World Cup. We just had to find some partners and sponsors who would just love the idea of a sporting event that was for everyday women, where creating a better world and creating friendships and unity was the fundamental building stones. Piece of cake, right? So, and we looked at regular sporting events and these huge restrictive manuals that comes with them and massive cost attached. And we just had to challenge ourselves to find a different model where we could create a global brand, but a local sense of co-creation with our partners. And the first partner we chose was the United Nations Development Program, because they're everywhere. And we actually wanted to make sure that when our teams took actions for these global goals, they would be seen and recognized by the UN system. And that's also why we hold our global final in New York City during the UN General Assembly. So we get politicians and UN officials coming to the games and just watching these teams and seeing them in action. Then we added in Save the Children and GAIN as global partners, because they're just everywhere and we can go everywhere with them. But then within each tournament, we set this dream team of partners from the art world, from education, government, NGOs, private sector, and they're kind of like these, we think of them as the Avengers. It's like this dream team of partners that each use their superpower to create an amazing event. And this great diversity of partners also creates a real live dialogue about what we all need to do to reach these goals. And they're united by their shared commitment to actually reaching the goals, and also a commitment to using sport to communicate about them. And then the diversity of the partners trickles into the kinds of teams that we actually attract to play. So we've had teams, these are lawyers and businesswomen from Uganda. We've had teams of, let's see here, these are teachers from Bangkok, actual teachers on a school in Bangkok. We've had cool architects from New York, and we've had, Muslim gender activists playing in their hijabs, playing soccer like that. It's just such a great experience. And people keep asking us, what's your business model? But it's so much more of a network model. It's more of a movement where we build an organization that's based on relationships of trust and of passion for repurposing sport to be fit for women and to be fit for the future that we want.
So we actually also make balls. So again, the good old days, the soccer balls were developed for men, by men. And today there's 30 million plus women down to the age of 12 that actually plays with that same size ball. And growing up playing, I knew that there was definitely more injuries among female players than among men. And when you realize that there is about 6 times as many injuries among female players than boys, you kind of go, damn, we gotta do something about this. And I was a coach at the time. And I had a daughter, and I have a daughter who's playing. And there was two things we could either do. We could see if we could come up with a solution for this problem, or we could stop playing football and do another sport. That was like the options. And so we started calling around and diving into work with scientists to find out what was really about the kicking and the passing and the heading. And about the headings today is that the head acceleration that we use when we are heading to a size, what's called 5, not ours, but the standard size ball, is that our head acceleration is above the level where we can get concussions. And what we know today is that concussions is all these little ones that we all know they're kind of doom when we head to a ball. They have a huge impact on future illnesses like depression and Alzheimer's. So we was like, we really need to do something. And of course, I know that there's a little bit of a feminist fight here, and I think that we all, in a sense, myself included, was thinking, shit, this is where our last, football is like our last thing in equality in a way. But I think we were stigmatized. I think I was stigmatized to think that I only counted if I did the same as men. And when we look about it, I don't walk around wearing 46 in shoes, right? And I have my perfectly fit bike, and there's nothing in that. And then when I started talking to Rikke, who runs over hurdles, he's like, all other sports have adapted to fit women, to give us a fair chance to actually succeed and reach our potential. And the sad thing about injuries is that when we know that when we have 2 serious injuries, there's a fat ass chance that we are not going to go back onto the field anymore. And that means for football, that means down to the age of 17, often seen. So we became ball producers. We weren't meant to be, but we did. And since 2008, we borrowed the corner of an Umbro factory, and we made our first 8 calculated balls, and we wrote on them size matters. Then ever since that, we've done a fair amount of balls by now, and they all have a purpose in life. So the black ones were made for supporting the Afghan women's national team to get a team bus, and we called the ball "What's the Bus About?" And we've had the orange one was supported women living in refugee camps, and of course the next one now is that there's a signature on it by this guy. Anyway, is of course our contribution to the UN about helping a way where we can make sure that everybody knows about the Sustainable Development Goals.
And another thing we do to spread the word about these goals is just one last idea to leave with you that we think is worth sharing is the idea of physical education, as in education that's physical. Because we know that the most efficient way to teach something, to learn something, is through our bodies. So wherever we go with the Global Goals World Cup, we also work with coaches and teachers and schools, and we develop these impact games that are football drills that teach children about each goal, and we help the kids come up with games themselves so they learn about the goals. And we do that because we honestly think that sport has an amazing power to create a whole new generation of global citizens that are aware of their responsibility to people and planet. And that is just essential, because if we are going to reach these goals, we all need to know what we're fighting for. It kind of looks like this.
So last year we won an IRC award for our work in women and sport for Europe. And the interesting thing is, I remember getting the mail and saying, "You are the proud winner of," and he goes like, turning to my boyfriend and saying, "This is really bad spam." And he kind of was like, "Oh my God, you won it." And I was like, "What?" And so it turns out that, and I don't think that when you are actually just walking around and you're coaching women plus 40 in refugee camps, you don't think about getting awards from the Olympic Committee. I will say that the reaction, I started crying and I was like, oh my God, and I think the whole emotional thing of being recognized in a sense, and I think that's what we in a million years want to pass on to all of those teams that are actually showing up to play in our Global Goals World Cup, for them to show up, but for them also to take the action for the world that we want and need.
And so since 2015, we've been moving out into the world. Our reach is growing, our partners are growing. Almost 1,000 women have played in our tournaments, and they've taken actions on 5 different continents in 5 different tournaments for the goals and finding their inner sports star. And we do believe there's room for a World Cup for the world. And so to answer the question, I mean, if women had been the social architects of football, we have a little video to show you that, at least from our perspective, this is what it would look like. So thank you.
This is Global Goals World Cup, an activist soccer tournament. We use the power of sport to connect girls and women around the world to take action on the United Nations 17 Global Goals. Our teams are motivated by their love for soccer and their desire to change the world. This is not your average World Cup. Sometimes, if you want to change things, you need to change the rules. So we did. Each team decides which global goal to play for. For example, quality education or climate action. To qualify, teams must take action on their global goal before the Cup. For example, they could raise money for their local school or arrange a climate demonstration. Therefore, soccer performance alone does not determine who wins the Cup. Actions for the global goals and soccer performance are equally important if you want to win. As a partner, sponsor, or player in the Global Goals World Cup, you will be joining a local and global community that is changing lives. And we invite politicians, artists, journalists to celebrate and learn about the actions the teams, partners, and sponsors have taken to help accelerate progress towards the global goals. Within the next 3 years, there will be World Cups on all continents. And every year, the winning teams will meet in New York City during the UN General Assembly to compete for the Global Goals World Cup Activist Trophy. We will play until the global goals have been reached. Are you with us?